there, you beautiful, lovely people. Hope y'all have an amazing day. I'm Jesus Aguilera here in the middle of, I want to say, no, AP Environmental. Sorry, a lot of classes, it gets confusing. But yeah, we have a sub today that's been into the school system for a while, and I got a couple students here that, wanted to state their opinion on what their perfect education system is or how they would incentivize kids to actually want to come to school. I'm going to state some of my opinions and what I personally believe would, want kids to actually come to school and just hear their thoughts on it. But yeah, let's get started. I personally like asking a simple question to get everybody a little bit more comfortable, get them more in the mood. So, what's y'all's favorite color? I like to say that that's a good way to just read into someone or see the kind of person they are.
I'm gonna be so real. I don't have a favorite color.
You don't have a favorite color? Favorite color?
No, purple for some reason.
Purple? Purple? I feel like you're versatile, man.
I like all colors.
Yeah, that's why.
Like bright yellow.
Bright yellow. He doesn't like bright yellow.
I like green.
Green?
I was about to say forest green.
Yeah, my favorite color is either dark green or a nice soft purple. Yeah, it's my favorite. Like a nice lavender. But
Maybe I do have a favorite color.
what's your favorite color then,
I
man?
don't know. I guess like
If you had to look at one color for all day, what color would it be? If you had to be
probably
in a
mint green.
mint green, there we go.
Yeah.
I like to say green is a lot of people are attracted to green just because it's such a nature thing. Humans are naturally attracted to beauty in nature and the environment. So we're naturally gonna be attracted to the color green within itself, right? But yeah, yeah, we got a beautiful background here, and let's go ahead and just get started. So I'll get started with kind of what started me on this topic today. Today for first period, we actually had ISS if you were running late. So it's basically like if you didn't get to class on time or if you weren't in school on time, you were sent to a different room, alternative room, to go to ISS. And I just don't agree with it. I know Ivan was sent to ISS, and I know he has some opinions to say about that.
What did you do?
He was late. He was
Get
late.
sent to ISS for being late.
Like, I just want
I was late for 3 seconds.
to see. This is
That happened to Jabril too. He walked in like right as the bell got done ringing, and they were like,
Sir, you need to go to ISS.
And see, this is where I like to say that the school system isn't perfect. Obviously, Ivan is genuinely one of the brightest kids I know. He has such a
Okay,
beautiful.
but also you're taking out of class, so you're missing class time.
exactly.
And you just get more behind. I don't understand it.
Do you know why they're even doing the tardy sweep today?
It's a what I've come to believe. It's a deterrent system to get kids to actually want to go to class on time or actually want to be at school on time. But at the same time, I don't agree with this type of deterrent system, especially for first period, because at the same time, I was in the classroom with a lot of kids that wanted to go to class, that were like, why am I in ISS? I have a test today. I have something to do today. I want to learn from my teacher. I have Miss Brandler first period. I know he does too. And Miss Brandler is one of my favorite teachers because she genuinely teaches and gives a lecture the whole class
Just
period.
like Dr. Bradshaw.
Yeah, it's like Dr. Bradshaw. I like to think that some of the best teachers are teachers that don't necessarily just give you assignments or just tell you to do something or read it on your own. It's people that would genuinely take the class period to give you a lecture, give you preach, and give you something to learn. And I think it's funny because a lot of kids actually hate that, which is where I like to get to the dual aspect of, it's a two-way road. School isn't, I feel like students have the sense of entitlement that they're entitled to come to school and they're entitled to learn something, and the teacher is entitled to suit their benefits and their way of learning. But no, the
I
teachers
also
just.
think it just gives teachers power trips. It's like I saw you running late, go. You
Especially-
listen to me, you follow my rules. I think it's stupid.
Yeah.
See, we can go into a whole different thing of power trips and why I believe that's a real thing. But, I'll leave that for a different day. But yeah, it does definitely give teachers some aspect of power and some sense of control, and some teachers definitely do love taking
They
advantage.
abuse it. They abuse
Oh,
it a
yeah,
lot.
100%.
So y'all don't necessarily agree with the decentivized form of sending people to ISS for being late.
Oh, no.
If I'm being honest, I do agree with it when it comes up to passing periods, not the way that they did him because he literally walked into class as the bell rang. But I agree that students they do waste time a lot. They do walk around the hallways a lot. They
I'm thinking if
simply.
it's like it's like 5 to 10 minutes after the bell, although like obviously if you're wandering the halls, maybe you can pull them aside and be like, hey, you're supposed to be in class.
Yeah, but not I feel like ISS is just making them miss learning. Like their punishment for being late is to miss learning, which they weren't gonna do. Like unless they were skipping, they're not gonna miss the learning anyways. So it's just adding to it.
See, the thing about it is that if you like walking around the hallways or if you like talking to your friends, which I understand, people are social creatures, but whenever it comes up to being 2 or 3 minutes late, that's where you start to disrupt the teacher, and that's where a teacher will start getting started on a lecture. That's where a teacher will start, stating a lecture, getting started into the lesson, and then they hear the knock on the door in the middle of the lecture, and I always see it on a teacher's face, like, I had to stop my lesson to come open the door. I had to stop my lesson and restate what I've already stated just for this child that, just was simply wandering the halls. So I do agree with it when it comes up to 33 minutes, late, because it does disrupt the classroom and it does make it a bit challenging for the teacher to actually, teach. But at the same time, like you said, it does take students that genuinely want to be in class away from class, especially when it comes up to something that was a couple seconds late. It's like you're trying the hardest. Like I know my freshman year I had cross country, and then my first period was
Across the school.
Yeah, across the school.
We need longer passing periods, I swear.
That's what it is. It's the fact that
You have no idea how many times I've had to hike across the school, either to get to the fine arts hall or to just get to where I need to be. I'll be like a few seconds late because it's taking me this long. I'm running. I swear I'm sprinting
I
down
get
this
to
hallway.
class
I look like an
panting,
idiot.
because I have to book it to my class because they're all the way across the school. We need 7 minutes. I feel like.
how would you personally do that then?
What do you mean?
What would you personally do to change the passing periods to make
I feel like teachers would be mad if he made classes shorter just so we can have more time to walk in the hallway.
Well, yeah, that's true.
And see, this is where I get to the argument that we have, homeroom. Still, it's called We Rock now. I think it's one of the,
I think
dumbest
We Rock
classes.
is useless. I don't think there's any point unless you are genuinely because some We Rocks they're helping them with TSI stuff.
See, I'm in a SAT prep one, but even then, we don't necessarily have much learning materials to actually study for the SAT.
I think that's just 20 minutes is just not enough time to get anything done.
Exactly. If anybody actually wants to learn something
Like
and
if you're
get better
gonna
at
do
something,
something like that, have it after school or have a designated time. Don't make a whole class period for it.
It's really what my experience with the different schools I've been to, it's just the time when you all have your cell phones out and teachers won't bother you.
I think it's like a
And you kind of
break.
relax and talk to your friends.
I don't mind a break, but that time could be used for something for each period. I feel like.
it could. I feel like that. My personal opinion is I think that class period could be distributed to not only give passing periods a longer time, but to also give us a longer lunch. Also, don't agree with how the school system doesn't necessarily allow us to go outside of school to get school lunch. I do understand for underclassmen or people that are younger can't necessarily drive.
Yeah, I feel like it should be a senior privilege. If you have a license, you should be allowed to you can show your ID when you get inside, and that will be your ticket to get back in the building.
I wouldn't just say a senior privilege. I would say incentive.
Anyone with a license. Anyone with a license.
I wouldn't say just anyone with license, but at the same time, you have a lot of students that would abuse that power or just simply, take advantage of it to go out and, just skip class or, it allows bad students to have the same privilege as students that are actually taking care of business.
And the thing is, you all belong to us from the time the tardy bell rings.
Oh yeah, the reason they implemented that was
Yeah,
because there was a car accident, the school
Yeah,
was held liable.
Yeah.
It's just safety, and God forbid a couple go out and, every day.
Yeah.
And girl get in trouble.
But then why some schools allowed to go outside?
I think if some schools aren't allowed, I think, and then some schools are because Saxby they're allowed to go get food.
Are they?
Yeah.
That's
Now,
privilege to
I
me. That's
hadn't seen that. I've seen some parents bring it, but I haven't seen them leaving.
As
and
far as
coming
I know,
back.
they're allowed to go get
I don't
food.
think so.
They just,
They may be slipping.
Yeah,
They
I don't-
may be slipping. Yeah.
the rules there are more relaxed about it. I think.
My friend goes to a private school, a parish high school, and it's he gets an hour free period. I don't know how to do that, but he gets an hour free period, and they get to go to lunch too.
It's just,
Like in that hour free period, they get to leave, go to lunch, and come back. I don't get how they do that.
See, my thing about it is like she said, the school is liable while you're within school hours. That's why they don't let you leave on test days or skip after test days.
They don't want to get sued again.
And yeah, because I'm pretty sure what happened was that a student got in a car accident or something like bad happened like that, and the parents held the school liable because they're like, that student was supposed to be at school. I put my
Like they're in your care, you should have made sure that they weren't.
Even though it was kind of their kid's fault.
exactly, and this is where I come to like liability thing, but at the same time, as I was saying, I think it should be an incentive for students to actually take care of business. You have A's and B's. You have a certain amount of
Do you
attendance.
think it should be like
A privilege.
a reward system? Like
Yeah.
if you have these certain grades, or if you have like no detentions or like marks, whatever,
Like less
you
than
should be
3
allowed.
tardies or something.
Yeah, you should be allowed to go and get food.
One of the things that I also very much don't agree with in school is the fact that they require us to be in class 90% of the time, despite half the classes.
The stupid e-hall pass. That is the most outrageous thing I've ever
You don't like
seen.
it?
I don't
like
like
how-
it. I think it's weird that you're recording how long we're in the bathroom. I think it's weird that if it goes over a certain time limit, then you're gonna be flagged or whatever. I don't even know how they do it. I just think that's odd.
Well,
See-
let me tell you why. Because especially when they're on the sub, I've had kids ask go to the bathroom, I always show me your hall, your ID, and I write down the name and time. Some kids are gone 30 minutes,
Oh yeah.
20 minutes.
It's understandable.
And a lot of kids, especially with the sub, I don't know about the regular teacher.
Same thing.
They'll go 15 and 20 minutes. I've noticed with this e-pass, it's less time because they know that somebody downstairs might be tracking how long they're gone, and you doing this every year, they're gonna eventually call you in and say, why do you need to go to
It
the
just makes me feel
bathroom
bad
every
because
day?"
what if certain students have like bladder issues, or what if like
You should have
what
a
if you're-
pass from the
what if-
nurse, so the teacher will let you out.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can get that in the 504
You
plan.
can.
scary
You can get it.
See, it comes to a level of maturity in the fact that a lot of kids in high school aren't ready or aren't mature enough to actually handle taking care of business. When teachers, like I've had classes before where teachers tell you if you need to go to the restroom, you don't have to ask me, just go to the restroom and be back on a timely manner, right? But it's the fact that a lot of students don't have the maturity level to actually handle that, and a lot of students will take advantage of that teacher. So it comes to a thing of, if somebody is doing that, then we're gonna have to implement that for every student.
And then it's like you say, let them talk. The incentive to be in school, some kids are just bored and they don't like whatever class, and they go to the bathroom to waste time, So they stay out as long as they think they can legally stay out because they're bored with it. And so school has changed from when I started. We used to reading, writing, math, arithmetic, or whatever. But now it's so many things you can get into, journalism, choir, clubs, the sports and activities. But then there's this kid who sees his way through, just sees. He's not into the sports, he's not working.
He just wants to get out.
Yeah, and his parents say you cannot quit, so he's here every day.
This is
And
where
a lot of the times bored because there's nothing for him, or he hadn't plugged into because it's down the 1100 hallway, all of those.
a part of that might be
classes.
like a problem with like the class or the teacher, because that student is not being stimulated, and so they need to like walk around us. So that's another problem, like people falling asleep in class. A part of it is they're not being mentally stimulated, or also they're not getting enough sleep. But that's another issue.
what would you like to say about that, Ivan? About kids wanting to come to class?
Not wanting.
Yeah.
Well, I don't actually feel like I don't want to come to classes, but for example, I really don't like that school. They would rather punish us for being late than somehow change the traffic or, like do something to actually,
Get students on time.
yeah.
Yeah, instead of helping us be on time, they punish us for being late.
See, this is where I get to the argument that it's not just teachers, it's also students within themselves. As she was stating, we are a very advanced education system. If you look at us now, if you look at our curriculum, if you look at our courses, we have a whole sheet of classes that we could take. I don't want to be disrespectful, but I'm sure whenever she came to school, they didn't have that option. I've heard it from many people that whenever they came to school, that they had English, math, they had basically basic curriculums, and they had no opportunity to branch out from there. So I say it's up to the students within themselves to branch out and to build a schedule that they actually actually enjoy and they actually enjoy. Like me personally, I love every single one of my classes, but it's because last year before we made our schedules, I made sure that I was gonna love every single one of my classes. I looked into what I was into. I looked into things that I was creative in, and I fed into that through my through my schedule. And that's any recommendation I would give any new coming student to high school. That look at your curriculum, look at your schedule, look at what you're doing. I get it.
What about the classes that are required for a pathway or something like that?
This is where I also
And
get.
then those are classes that a student doesn't really want to take, like a person who knows they're not interested in math, they know they don't want to have it as part of their life, yet they have to take these required math classes. And obviously, some of it is basic skills that you're gonna need eventually. Like,
When are we gonna need geometry? I feel like they should be optional. Like you should. I don't know. I feel like
Do you know why they have math courses? It's not so you learn math. So you learn brain processing, and so it stimulates your mind, helps your brain grow to be able to actually process and develop the algorithmic rhythm of doing math within itself. It's like
no one's gonna want to do that because like
it feels pointless, right? This is where I get to the argument that the school system within itself. This is where it's kind of bad. It's the fact that we have certain curriculums that feel unnecessary, unrequired to certain careers, and not only that, but you're fed into this. And if you look at the history of the school system, it's still based off of Rockefeller's ideology of making industrial worker that I'm pretty sure was funded in, I want to say, the 1960s.
so the curriculums are sort of outdated.
Yes, the curriculums are outdated, and the whole system of the education system is built to not further your education, not make you a better thinker, not make you a smarter
But to
person.
make you a laborer.
Yes, it's built to make you. That's why it's so strict on class periods, so strict on curriculum, so strict on you have to ask to go to the restroom, so strict on the e-hall pass and all that. It's because it gives them a sense of control. Because at the end of the day, as soon as you leave here, the school expects you to go into a workforce or a work industry if you're not going directly into college. They expect you to go into a retail store and be a retail worker and understand that management is going to be there. That's why they're so strict on dress code. You hear teachers say it all the time.
Oh, they're strict on uniformity because laborers all had a uniform.
Exactly. It's the fact that our system is very much outdated and it's still based off of the foundation of the Rockefellers' ideology of creating a new class of industrial workers. This is where I like to make to the argument that the whole education system needs to be reformed into. My personal belief on what a perfect education system would be, up until like 7th grade, children aren't necessarily they're learning the basic curriculums of math, science, and all that, but they're not going into depth into it. They're not going and being put into that. They're learning creative arts because at the end of the day, I feel like everybody is good at something. I may not be the best. I may not be the best mechanic, but I know someone out there is the best mechanic. I may not be the best. Some kids may not be the best historian, but they might be really good at psychology, or they may really be good in certain aspects of school. And I feel like school should be willing to innovate that idea, or willing to innovate a child and find their creative arts. So I feel like up until 7th grade, it should be a very lenient system that allows kids to find their creative arts or find the things that they're good at. And then once you hit like 7th, 8th grade, that's whenever you implement strict pathways that you should have told a 7th grader. Like if you told a 7th grader, here, this is what your pathway would be for the rest of your life. If you do this, it's not necessarily for the rest of your life, but it's like this is what the required courses are to follow this.
I feel like every year they try to, I feel like they're trying to do specific pathways earlier and earlier in life, but my problem with that is a lot of people don't know what they want to do.
Exactly.
And I feel like pushing on kids so early in life to choose what they want to do when they don't even know what these classes are about. Like some of these kids, like if you ask a 6th grader what psychology was, they would probably not be able to tell you unless they are interested in that.
And that's what I mean though. First seven years of, I want to say, school are meant to not only learn about basic,
show them these different classes.
Yeah, and learn about yourself.
Expose them to different.
Because at the end of the day, if you don't know who you truly are, if you don't know your interests, if you don't know your hobbies, if you don't know what you're like, you're never gonna know what you want your future to be. Some people say that they like animals, but they don't know what aspect of animals they like. They can, I know Miss Chara, she used to be a zoologist, but she hated being a zoologist because of the inhumane way that they would treat animals. So she came here and she started teaching students and forensics, and she has an animal club. She found a way to express her innovative ideas on her own, right? And it's like I feel like the school system, first 7 years, it should be basically children learning about themselves, learning who you are, because I believe that some people are innately gifted in certain aspects in certain areas. So if you're willing to feed into these gifts, then it prospers and it becomes a beautiful art.
What scares me is that, like, making them have to choose a certain pathway. Like, what if they're interested in multiple things and they want to keep expanding on different things? I feel like a strict pathway would be very, like, restricting, I guess. And because, like, for me, I'm interested in a lot of things, and it scares me to have to choose one thing that I'm good at, because what if I don't want to do that for the rest of my life?
So basically, the more choice you have, the less you're willing to choose.
Like, the more, yeah, exactly, the more you learn about, what if these students get more confused and decide that they don't know what they want to do because there's so many different options? Like, that can be overwhelming for a kid.
This is wherever you start to, like, basically I like to view it as a funnel. You know, you start off very broad, and as you go through school, it starts to funnel down, funnel down, funnel down. You give them basic curriculums to give them a basic life pathway in certain things. Like, let's say you're into animals, right? You don't know if you want to be a zoologist, you don't know if you want to be a veterinarian, you don't know what aspect of animals you want to work with, right? So you take basic classes like small animal management, you know, learning how to, you know, I don't want to say, let's see, learning how to care for animals, learning how to take care of animals, learning what animal welfare is, learning all these basic, you know, what do they call them? Simple skills or
Something like
Life
that.
skills.
life skills. I know there's a specific word for them, but yeah, it's like basic skills.
Basic life skills.
It's like you basically teach them the basics in what they're doing, and then once they get to, let's say, I say high school should be treated more as college. I say once you get to high school, that's where you tell them, like, hey, if you want to do this for the rest of your life, this is what you have to do. And then you list out all the required curriculum or required courses, and they can look at, like let's say you want to be a doctor, right? If you want to be a doctor, you know everything that you have to do to be a doctor. Like, you're gonna read that, you're gonna be like, yeah, like, this is everything I have to do. Let's say someone tries to push, you know, being a doctor onto you, and they try to give you everything that you want to do. You're gonna look at it and be like, no, this isn't what I want to do. You're gonna see courses that you don't like, you're gonna see classes that you don't like, you're gonna see things that you don't necessarily want to deal with, so you're gonna push that away, right? Well, I think at the end of the day, there's always gonna be something that you don't like, but you're always gonna look for the one that is either the easiest way out or the one that's gonna give you the least amount of, you know, displeasure. So you're gonna choose the one that has the most courses that you feel like you'd enjoy.
My question is, do you think doing this so early would put more pressure on the younger generation?
I feel like there's a lot of pressure on younger generations already.
Exactly. So do you think doing this even earlier and earlier is going to help with that?
See,
I think actually, yeah.
what I would take away is the standardized testing. That's one thing that I would really, because think about it.
Studying for no reason. We're
Study-
studying to get good marks on an exam, not studying to learn about it truly. It's like we're trying to memorize the answer, not like.
It's an algorithmic theorem. It's algorithmic rhythm. It's not actually learning the materials. It's not actually learning the context. It's not actually being able
Where
to
it's like
apply
we're
them.
trained to detect patterns.
We
more
only
than we are
learn,
to
yeah.
information.
We only learn on surface level. We're not like, you don't go in depth because all you really need to know is, oh well, I know that the answer to this choice is going to be B. So
Exactly.
You're not, like,
Honestly,
So do you think maybe taking away like multiple choice stuff and having more like free response?
I think yeah, because like that way it trains you to like learn more in
Would
depth
that be
about
harder
it.
to grade?
see, I would say
Maybe.
free response would be like an exam, but at the end of the day, if you're gonna, like, students shouldn't view tests as something scary. You should view a test as an opportunity to prove your knowledge or to see what appreciate it, man. To see what you know in a certain curriculum. So it's like if you have a standardized test A, B, C, D, it's to memorize it. It's to know the basic logistics.
Maybe instead of like, because you know how multiple choice is very easy to grade and it helps to pinpoint, like, it's very easy to put in a number system.
Mhm.
But I think if we got rid of the number grades and instead started, like, I don't know. I definitely wrote an essay about this for English.
It's like they want us to be competing with each other. They want us to be striving to get 100. They want us to be striving to be the top in the
Yeah,
class.
this brings this to the topic of like the grading system
The grading system.
and how much of a problem that is, like GPA, stuff like that.
I always say GPA does not matter. I know kids that are ranked top 100, top 30 in the class that have literally gone through high school cheating off of people around them and have no idea about anything that they've learned in any single curriculum.
There was a senior last year who graduated, and he was literally so smart. He was in my calculus class, and I know this man was just super smart, but the thing was, he didn't care about his grades.
I respect
And he
that a
was
lot.
definitely like top, maybe 100. I don't know. He wasn't very close to the top 10 because he just would skip class and sleep because he knew he could catch up, and so But this, he was just incredibly smart, but
I mean,
he did not care about his grades, and so they were average.
generally smart or academically smart.
Like
There's difference.
generally, he just knew how to do stuff. Like he was street smart and he was book smart at the same time.
So it was a good balance, yeah.
Yeah.
See, I like to make the argument that, the whole education system and the whole fact, like, think about your elementary school life.
I
Think about,
think the grading system now appeals to people who are book smart and doesn't
Not.
teach them how to be street smart. Like how to think for yourself, how to think outside of the box, how to not require on looking at Quizlet for answers.
After high
which is
school,
what
because
it's
after high
not
school,
applied
once we-
knowledge.
yeah. Well, after high school, once we get into the real world, all we really know is like the basic stuff we learned in like high school and elementary school. I feel like in elementary school they should like, how we have a bunch of classes we can take here that we can all like see what we're interested in. I
That
feel
should
like
start in
they should do that in elementary school too, and they should have it where like you have to at least try it out like once or twice just to learn, like just try it out and learn about it a little bit and see like what you might be interested in, because they don't know, they haven't
See,
like.
if I'm being honest, I think this is where kids are kind of funny. If you do the psychology behind a child, you realize that not only is a child literally a sociopath up until
Oh
the
yeah,
ages.
they don't develop empathy until like.
Yeah, they have a lack of empathy.
Narcissist is a better word.
Narcissist.
Because sociopaths still don't feel emotions as much.
You're,
Well, they're
what
kids,
is
they're stupid. They don't know anything.
Yeah,
the
but
thing
they also.
thing about a child is that a child literally doesn't understand anybody else's perspective.
It's impossible.
It's impossible
They've
for
just
them.
been born. They can't empathize with anyone because they can't relate that to experiences they've had because they haven't had those experiences or anything like it.
Exactly. They can only view the world from their own personal perspective. So you know how a child do random things all the time, right?
Oh yeah.
You know how a child how you'll tell a child 2 + 2 is 4, right? And then they'll be like, no, it's 5. You're like,
Yeah.
why do you think it's 5? And they're like, I don't know, I think it's 5. It's because they think that everybody else around them thinks exactly like them.
You
So
learn
they
that in psychology too, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's literally
It's
it's a good course, yeah.
Great class.
But it goes into the aspect that children are like literally narcissistic and they don't understand
Yeah.
like anybody else's perspective. So I think this is where it gets to the aspect that you have to kind of psychologically manipulate children to get interested in something.
Mhm.
It sounds messed up, but
It's true.
it's
though.
true.
That's
Like,
what they have to do.
think about
What if people get manipulated at a young age that they like something when they actually don't?
Well,
see,
I
that's the
mean,
thing. If they grow into it and they actually end up liking it like 20, 30 years later,
then it's fine.
yeah,
Did
did
you
they,
find a
they
problem
truly
with that?
not like it, or were they just rebelling against it at the time?
It's different if they're manipulated into like going along with it. Like, yeah, sure, I guess I like this thing. But if they're manipulated into it and then they end up enjoying it and that becomes their career and they love that career, is it really so bad?
Well, that's not the problem. I just think it's
See, think about it. Let me put it this way. If you show a child like, hey, I'm a doctor, I have to do a bunch of brain surgeries, I have to do all this, I have to do all that, then they're gonna be like, ew, I don't want to do that, right? But if you're like, hey, I'm a doctor, look what I get to do. I get to study the brain, I get to study these organs, I get to make a lot of money. It's fun to them. They're like, oh, I like that. That's interesting to me. And they start to take an interest in that. And once they get into middle school or high school, this is where you start to innovate that. And this is where you start to get them a standard curriculum and start telling them, hey, if you actually want to do this for the rest of your life, this is what you're going to have to do. Or this is like, do you really want to do
my
this?
question is, what's the rush? What's the rush to get people to know what they want? Like
I mean, that's true. They have like
I
18
know,
years.
I know life is short, but I think just doing all this so early and then all of this manipulation. I feel like every year people start, like, there's more and more pressure, and I feel like it's just a lot of.
That's actually a great point.
That is a great point. I would argue that maybe you're right, and maybe
I
the
think
school.
maybe if we could expand, because you know how our brains are still developing. Like the men, what is it? Frontal lobe for men doesn't even develop until like what is it, 25?
Yeah, we're pretty dumb.
I'm thinking like, what if we expand the amount of time we have education? I don't know.
Make
She,
it,
she
like-
may be right about that. You know,
like,
Or
make
maybe
it longer
starting-
or make
or
it like
maybe
starting later.
Starting maybe a little bit.
Right,
later.
because then you
Like,
can't be manipulated into like just conforming. Because like
'Cause I
kids don't
think-
conform to societal
Yeah, like, having-
expectations.
I'm saying like we still would go to like preschool and stuff to build the
The
social skills.
General math, social skills, all
Yeah.
that.
But then starting like mathematics, reading, like all that stuff.
Wait a little bit later.
see, the biggest issue with that is that what I've learned from psychology is that children actually learn a lot better at a younger age. So whenever you start to introduce things at a later age, it becomes more of a struggle for them to actually grasp the concept or actually learn
There's more stuff in their brain.
Exactly. and it's harder for them to actually learn. So if you introduce it at a young age, and not necessarily in, like I was saying, a course curriculum, or in a way that, we're taking grades on this, you have to do this because you're being standardized tests, you have to do this to be a good student, but you're like, hey man, do you like this? Or hey man, do you actually, want to do this? Or hey man, let's go try this out and see if you like it, see how cool it is, right? And it's like that child is then developing the ability to actually know the basic concepts of many different things. And I say that, you not only teach them book smart, but you actually teach them life skills. I don't personally know how to tell if a berry is edible or not. I feel like that's something I need if I was in the middle of yeah.
Teach a child herbology.
Exactly, man. It's like you teach them all these basic, life skills and life concepts, and not only that, but you start to get into actual book smarts and you start to teach them basic curriculums at a young age. It develops their brain's ability to actually learn. So once, like you were saying, maybe school doesn't have to end until you're like 25. Maybe our education system shouldn't be, just shut off at the age of 18. And if you want to pursue anything else, it's, a lot of money. Maybe it should be.
Well, in elementary school, you may recall that they introduced the careers. The counselors have the sessions with the kids. This is what a policeman does, a nurse does, a teacher does. So you start getting it in mind. And what does your mom and dad, what do they do? And so really, by middle school, you should have interest inventory so you can see what you're good at doing. So when you get to high school, you take that pathway. A lot of kids at Lakeview that may or may not like Lakeview, except they have an excellent studio, what do you call it? All the stuff for news reporting. It's a very advanced lab. And so we pull kids from district pull kids from all over the city for that program. And every school probably has something. So that, and you don't have to think of it as you're gonna do this for life. I have 3 adult kids. My oldest one was in, he was recreation. And as he worked at it, he decided he wanted to advance. He got more into education, so he could spend time with his kids. Now he's an administrator, and he has his own business still with education. And my middle son is in executive leadership. When he started out, it was like junior college. And we made some moves, and he still had to celebrate around all books. He did not study. But as he got older and got married, he saw the need for an education. And he began to study. And what he was doing, he was in like banking, and he switched over to
Not cute.
So sometimes people end up in stuff that they didn't train. If it makes you happy. And so, and my daughter, she's the youngest, she always liked education and political science. She thought she wanted to be a teacher, and she took 2 education courses and said, no, that's not me. So she's an attorney. Right now, she's doing corporate law. She likes to do family law. So don't think of it as you gotta stay in this forever. All right, let me get you something.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying there should be more like
I actually
flexibility
like,
with what kids should maybe to
See,
do.
the thing about it is that at the end of the day, you need to know basic curriculums, you need to know basic skills, you need to know, basic, life set, right? And I think that, if you, as she was saying, if you think like you're into animals, you think you want to be a veterinarian, at the end of the day, you may not end up being a veterinarian, but at least you can have that basic concept of what taking care of animals was, of what, basic veterinarianism is, and what basic, just maintaining animals is. And from there, if you want to go do something else, you can do something else, but at least you already have the basic aspects of these skills, and from there you can just add on to that. Let me think.
I'm distracted. What's in there?
It's gordita. Yeah, it's so good. You want to try that?
What's in it?
It's just beans.
No, it's so fire. It's actually amazing.
Here you go.
Oh my god, it's
Right? But
sorry. I was looking and I was like,
yeah. But yeah, just basic life education skills and these basic, things that you're gonna need. I like to think that people are. I like to use this quote a lot. I think I told it to you. People are a flowing river, just trying to get to the ocean at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, by building dams, by
Ominous. What's the ocean?
And you eat. And that's the thing, like you grow, what is it? You grow a resist.
It's your sensitivity decreases to dopamine, like the neural pathways that
And so you
transport
need
dopamine.
more and more to catch
Yes,
the feeling.
and you get less and less enjoyment from things that aren't your phone or dopamine, like or
truly
phone
an
and video
addiction.
games. It is. It 100% is.
I was talking to Mr. Seinfeld, or I wasn't talking about it. He said something in class that stuck with me that I found crazy, and he said that the whole reason our students are so addicted to technology is to have that sense of control, and it's just simply having the sense of control of you can control something within your life. Because what I've come to believe is that a lot of people need that sense of control because there's a lot of disparity, a lot of negative things in this world, and people feel powerless to it. You feel like you can't make a change. You feel
And then on your phone, you can control what you look at, you can look at, you can control what you're watching. And then the algorithms also appeal to that because then they show you more and more of those things that you want.
So on top of that control, you also have instant hits of dopamine every time you look at your phone. So of course you're gonna prefer being on TikTok over learning about things that are gonna be beneficial to you. But in the moment, you're like,
Yeah, in these classes, like, they're teaching you things that maybe you don't want to learn about, but you kind of need to learn about. But that's the thing, like, because you're not getting that dopamine, you're like,
It
I
doesn't
don't want to
interest
pay
you.
attention to this.
and people with ADHD are even more predisposed to that because they already have lower levels of dopamine in the brain. So it's like, my phone is like the only thing I'm getting dopamine from, I really, really don't want to learn about this. And they already have trouble with paying attention. Like,
Especially with
that's
the
how-
anxiety levels, because the dopamine, like a lot of people go on their phone because it calms them, or it
Yes.
makes them feel good, and that's the dopamine.
You want to hear the crazy part? This is the same reason drug addicts become addicted to things such as
Because
heroin.
it
Yeah.
calms their nerves, like,
It gives us a sense of control in their life because
yeah, smokers.
all those reasons.
Smokers, like, I know smokers, so I've asked about this before. And they told me that they get the nicotine inside their body, it just, because they'll have the physical reactions, and this calms those physical reactions.
not only that,
And
but
then they say they can think clearer, they say they can control their emotions better.
it's a psychological aspect of it too. Because if every single time you pick up a cigarette, every single time you pick up,
It just makes you feel
it
better.
makes you feel better because you say it's a sense of control. It's something that I control. And if you continue to tell yourself that, hey, the only way I can think straight is through smoking,
Then you're addicted.
then you're addicted because at the end of the day, it gives you in the psychological mindset that you need it to think straight.
See, I'm like, that's what I equate that to instant gratification because like you smoke a cigarette, you feel less anxious for like a couple
It's
minutes.
temporary, yeah.
Yeah, but if you really want to work on that anxiety, you want to like think about,
Find
you want to be mindful,
alternatives.
you want to find healthy alternatives. But in the moment, you'd rather do something unhealthy too because it works better in the moment. It's instant gratification. You don't think about how it's going to affect you in the future. Just like using our phones all the time, we don't think about how spending 7 hours a day on our phone and when we're supposed to be learning in class. We don't think about how that's going to affect us in the future. That's instant gratification.
It's funny because I was actually listening to a podcast. I want to say it was Joe Rogan. I was just scrolling through Instagram, and he had this psychologist that explained his theory on why ADHD exists. And honestly, I found it insane. Basically, he says that ADHD exists within the mind of a child because the child inherently absorbs the stress of his parents or his environment. So if a child is always in a stressful environment, then that child is naturally going to absorb that, right? ADHD is actual natural self-defense mechanism whenever you feel stressed. So let's say an adult feels stressed and they want to get rid of that stress. What are they going to do? They're naturally going to think about something else that makes them feel good, or something else that they actually enjoy thinking about, right? But when a child can control, his environment, or can control the stress that he's absorbing, his mind is just always naturally doing that, and it becomes a broken,
It's a coping mechanism.
it's a broken coping mechanism.
So maybe that's why parents with like, not even with ADHD in their family, but parents with like bipolar or any other mental disorder are more likely to have children with ADHD.
Because
That makes a lot
because
of
that
sense.
stress is passed on to them, and that child cannot inherently, get rid of that stress or cannot inherently push that away. So therefore, they find a coping mechanism at a young age of, think of this else, think of this else, think of this else. It's kind of sad.
That
but
makes a
it's-
lot of
That's
sense.
interesting.
That's
Yeah.
actually really interesting.
That's why I like, and see, this is where I like to get to the aspect that technology can truly be used for good if you find the good in it. Like, if I were to show you on my Instagram page right now, or my Instagram feed, it's literally nothing but politics, psychology, religion, and podcasts. And it's because it depends on what you feed into the algorithm or what you allow the algorithm to, feed you. Me, if I see something I don't like, I'll straight up press, I'm not interested in this, and they'll ask me why. That's why. I'll be like, I don't want to see that again. And it's funny because my algorithm has been built around my interests and my likes. So anytime I'm on, like I will get wrapped up on Instagram and I will just go down a
Because
loophole.
it's constantly showing you things that you have to see.
Exactly.
Things that you're interested in.
But if you make sure that everything that you're interested in and everything that you're seeing within the algorithm is beneficial to you in your life and it's actually benefiting your future, then at the end of the day, is it truly bad to, be online for, I wouldn't say all day, for like 2 hours a day?
I mean, I'm saying, as long as you're doing, like, as long as you don't have other things that you should be doing, like, if you're in class and,
It
like,
becomes a need to be on there. I think that's the problem.
Same.
Like, if you're using it to like read, because I get a lot of my hours because I'm on my phone reading.
Mhm.
Because sometimes books just are accessible to the phone. But I say if you're doing it to like watch movies or to scrolling on a TikTok, like sometimes stuff like that that's not like helpful.
There's this very interesting video by Bob Proctor. Let's see if I can pull up this image. But basically, he goes into explaining what the law of vibration is and what the law of attraction is. And it's basically that ideology that at the end of the day, everything is a subatomic atom. But if you do the physics behind it, you come to find out that human brain pathway essentially, I forgot how he explains it. It essentially breaks time, space, and continuum. Basically meaning that just thinking of something creates a reality somewhere else. And it's really insane the way he goes into it. And he goes into the law of vibration, saying that the law of attraction, saying that whatever you're feeding your mind is feeding your subconscious, and therefore whatever you're feeding your subconscious becomes your actions. So it's like if you spend every single day watching nothing but dramas, watching nothing but dramas on Netflix, watching nothing but like soap operas and things like that, then you're feeding your mind a lot of drama, right? That therefore is feeding your subconscious a lot of drama. So your unprovoked or your unattended thoughts, like your dreams, all these different things, are surrounded around that drama, right? Therefore, in your life, you're going to start to express that drama because you're going to want to create a reality that is in the
Because
shape.
that's what you like.
Exactly.
That's what you want to watch.
That's why anytime I look
That's
at,
interesting. So you're saying that the people that cause drama are the people that.
because they enjoy it. It's what, let's see.
It's what excites them.
Exactly. That's why anytime I see anybody do anything negative, I just simply choose to not feed into it. And it's like, if you want to be a bad person, if you want to be a negative person, that's a you thing. I'm just going to walk away. I can try to correct, I can try to tell you. Exactly, because at the end of the day, they're just looking for that involvement. I can tell you, hey, what you did was kind of messed up. Like, maybe you should do it a little bit differently next time. But if they're going to get defensive or they're going to get mad, I'm like, all right, like, you're being a negative Nancy. I'm just going to walk away.
Miss, can I go to the restroom?
Let's see.
Oh, she's gone.
But yeah, it's just a very interesting topic whenever you go into the physics of it all, and the fact that like basically we gotta go off topic.
I know. I was going to talk about how to get kids to come to school.
Yeah, no, my ideology with getting kids to come to school is just building a schedule around your enjoyments or things that you like. If you're actually excited about coming to school, like me, I honestly I love every single one of my teachers, man. Like Mr. Guzman, I love the way I have a 60 in his class. I love the way he teaches his class. I have like a 66 in his class.
Right now?
Yeah. Carry on. World history, it's honestly probably the hardest class I'm taking just for the amount of notes that we have to take.
Is it even AP?
Yeah,
Someone confiscate that.
It's because I keep on trying to do this.
I think I had a little. Never mind.
I think I literally wrote an essay about this in English last year. Did y'all have this year's?
No.
I didn't even take English last year.
I don't know how it's going
They forgot to put me in it.
But we had to write an essay about educational reform, and we had to choose one thing we want to change about education now. And I think I said something. Can you actually pull that up? So I could help you right now.
We say was absent this period, but I didn't know.
Alex and who else?
What's
Beats me with a
Alex's
stick.
last name?
Saldana. I don't know.
Make those. No.
Some.
Huh? Oh, I'll just cut this out later.
What was the other
Yeah.
person?
Yeah, Kate.
I think it was Kate.
You can save memory though.
Huh?
You can save memory though.
Oh, but I said something about making education more personal, like making classrooms a little bit smaller so you can.
But then you need more teachers.
That's true. And I addressed that in my essay. I said the only problem with that would be like you need to hire more teachers, and there's definitely teachers
teacher shortage right now.
See, I think the biggest issue, honestly, I truly believe that the biggest evil in the world is the government itself. If you look at what they're doing, if you look at what they've done in the past, if you look at
Mr. Bradshaw made that very clear.
yeah.
I love that guy.
Love that man.
He's so passionate. It's so
Dude,
like
he's so into class, man.
I've never once learned like anything in history practically, and then I get into his class, and since he might be a little odd, sure, because he will run around his class screaming, flipping over desks and stuff.
Who?
Dr. Bradshaw. But dude, it's so like it makes me so invested.
I
Like, I don't
have
even.
video recording of how he's like walking around and screams.
Yeah, you remember whenever he showed us
yeah.
the video?
That's
All he
what
showed
they
you that
recorded.
World War II.
World War One.
We
Yeah,
need
World
more
War One big
teachers-
gangbang.
I have
more
the.
teachers to be like
Actually care about what they're learning.
Like,
Yeah.
have y'all ever had Mr. Owen?
No.
He's actually like the best math teacher I've ever had because he'll make jokes the whole time. He'll get people involved. He'll make sure people aren't slipping, and then he'll like make himself more available after school for tutorials. He'll tell people what they're doing wrong, how to fix it, how to like. He'll literally give examples of how people will think of something and how that can be incorrect and how to fix that. Like, he's literally the best math. He's the best math I've ever had.
What is this guy doing? He's referencing World War One.
He's referencing it.
How is that referencing?
They're battling. Because he's standing on a desk now.
Yeah, the way that he taught us World War One, which I love, was the fact that it was nothing but a big gang
Can we talk
battle.
about the outfit too? Like the
Oh, he's always dripped out,
The
bro.
monochrome is.
He's always dripped out.
But yeah, the way that he taught us World War One was that like
It was a big gang fight.
yeah, because that's truly what it was. Two people got in an argument, therefore other people joined into the war, therefore more people joined into the war, therefore more
Oh, I
people.
was thinking of World War One when that dude was shot, the Duke or whatever.
Yeah, and apparently
That's
that
World War One. World War Two was.
teacher, yeah.
Yeah, that was the Hulk.
Have y'all seen that video of him running around with the belt going, rah! That was from that video, I think.
Man. And see, the thing about it is that Mr. Steinfeld said a quote that has stuck with me like to this day, and he said that if you don't want to be a teacher, if you don't enjoy teaching the students, you shouldn't be a teacher. Like if you can't handle the negative aspect of being a teacher, trying to get children to actually want to come to school, and if you're just doing it as a job, you shouldn't be a teacher. And it's true, because think about it. It's also a two-way road, because think about it. A lot of teachers come into the school system wanting to teach or wanting to show students or wanting to, grow with students, right? And at the same time,
The bad ones give a bad impression on them, so when you want
exactly.
But the problem is we can't even just get rid of those teachers because we need more teachers.
Yeah,
I
it
think-
really is a growing problem.
But that's the thing, we can't just get rid of the bad ones.
It's the students, though. A lot of times, teachers are genuinely passionate about something, or genuinely want to teach you something, or actually want to show you something. And then at the end of the day, the students are always just there to, it's like with electives. A teacher chooses an elective because it's a course that they actually enjoy teaching, or it's something that because it's not a study curriculum, or it's not a structured curriculum, so they get to do their own thing, right? Well, at the end of the day, a lot of students just choose random electives just to have a class. They don't actually know what they're learning there. They don't actually care about what they're going to learn. They just go to their week
So
To
hard.
fill the.
schedule.
Yeah.
And this is where I say, like, students kill it for teachers a lot of times, and then, which sucks, because at the end of the day, it kills it for other students, and it's kind of like a cycle. A bad student kills it for a good teacher becomes a bad teacher, a bad teacher creates a bad student.
That, and also the fact that, like, students, naturally, they're going to start acting like their peers a little bit. And if you just get a couple of students to start acting like they're like, man, I don't want to learn in this class is boring, everyone's going to start thinking that class is boring. With the exception of people who are, like, really, really passionate about it, a lot of people are going to be so bored in that class because they're like,
See, and this is where you get to the aspect of, who said it? I want to say it was Orwell, George Orwell. He wrote in his book 1984 and Animal Farm that people are sheep. People will be herded. People need a sheep leader. So this is where I get to the aspect that you have to individually ask yourself: Are you gonna conform to society? Are you gonna do something because people think it's the right thing to do? Are you gonna do something because people around you do it all the time? Are you gonna do something because it's,
Either be the influencer or be the influence.
Exactly, and it's like you have to ask yourself. And a lot of people strive away from the idea of being influenced by others because they want to be different or they want to branch out. But at the same time, everybody has to learn from somebody. Like you personally cannot know everything on your own. You cannot just go out there and say, I'm a genius, I know everything, you're always wrong. And that's what creates a negative mindset, and that's what creates an ignorant person that's unwilling to learn from others individually. Hold on. We got a little fidget spinner action going on.
Not for me. But it's weird how. So like we teach kids to conform to society, and we think as we were taught to conform to like our society specifically. I don't know. It's just so weird to think that because whenever you're in this, it feels like our societal rules are the only ones that exist.
Until you start branching out and until you start learning about other parts of the world and start hearing about their
hunter-gatherer tribes, dude. That's so much different.
Have you ever seen those civilizations that haven't seen the rest of the world, or they're like untouched?
I honestly mess with those people a lot because they know they don't want to mess with us.
Yeah.
I feel like
I heard about that.
I just want to know what they think.
I feel like they because have you? I
They
think you're
don't
about
even know about us.
No, I think she was about to say.
The guy who joined went to the tribe and then he got killed.
Oh no, I wasn't gonna say that. I was gonna say there's a tribe in Africa that apparently they discovered and they were trying to do studies on, and they actually found out that they knew more about comets, about astronomy, and about the way the universe works than we as scientists know. They had already predicted that a comet was going to pass by over the sky before it had already happened, and the scientists were literally studying their predictions, studying what they knew, and they come to find out that everything that they were stating was a fact, and everything that they were saying was going to happen was factually happening. So I personally feel like these indigenous tribes, they know something that we don't, and they're just waiting for the day to come out and kind of be a part of society. They've literally been there just to preserve ancient cultures, because that's all they are. They're an ancient lost indigenous culture that was pillaged
That
by.
decided not to conform to this.
Yeah, man.
It's what I was talking about was there was this guy and there was he was going. It was I don't know what country it was, but he was going to document this hunter-gatherer tribe, I think. And he goes to the island and he tries to take pictures of them, and it said that he killed them. But then there's a picture. I don't know if it's real or not. I'm pretty sure it is though. There's a picture from some years later, and it's so everyone in that tribe is black, and then there's this one white guy. It's a very blurry picture, but from a photo from a helicopter, you can see a picture. Yeah, I think so.
That sounds like a conspiracy theory.
It is. It very much is. But why else would they have some random white guy in their tribe?
Conspiracy theories.
Every single conspiracy theory came from some sort of truth, so there's really no such thing as a true or
Well,
false.
that's the thing. Sometimes things can be expanded upon as truth, or they can be blown out of proportion.
Well,
That's another. That's a whole other.
What do y'all believe about JFK? The JFK assassination. What do y'all believe?
Oh, I thought you were gonna talk about the Marilyn Monroe conspiracy.
Oh, go ahead. I don't really have anything about the JFK assassination anyways.
I was gonna say JFK assassination was
What's-
obviously, yeah.
What's the conspiracy theory behind that?
That. So the whole ideology of the JFK conspiracy theory was that they believed the
George
shooter.
Mordish. I don't know. Go ahead.
Yes, yeah, whatever he was. They believed the shooter shot 3 rounds in the span of 6 seconds from a building this high up and missed the first round. Right? He hit the second shot.
I think so.
Yeah, he missed the first shot, hit the second, and hit the third, all within the span of 6 seconds. So if you actually go into depth, that guy was actually in the military. He was not that good of a shooter. He was an average sharpshooter.
Who,
And
Lee?
from
Lee Harvey. Yeah.
yeah, the shooter or whatever. I don't know his name, man.
It's Lee
Oswald.
Harvey Oswald.
Yeah, and if you look at the place of shot, JFK is down there, right? This guy is behind him and shoots him. So if you get shot in the back of your head, which way do you think your head's gonna go? Forward, right? If you look at the video, JFK's head actually was shot at an angle, and you can see it go to the side. So the conspiracy
So
theory.
the location of where the mouth was. Is that the conspiracy theory?
The conspiracy theory is the fact that it was government involvement or some
Or was
sort.
it was a different person?
It was a different
Wasn't
person.
him at all.
But sadly, his brains went in his wife lap.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it's a really, and here's the worst part about it too. If you watch the video, the limo driver drives, stops. You hear a shot, it misses.
So it was all
You hear
planned.
you hear a second shot, it hits. Because I'm pretty sure it got him in the neck, right? Yeah, there we go. That's what happened. So they believe, or what I've come to believe, because what they say is that the gun that the marksman had, that to shoot it off 3 bullets in 6 seconds, that's like nearly impossible. You have to be like an insanely good sniper to, because it's a heavy caliber gun, right? It's a heavy assault rifle, right? So they say that he may have shot the second one because if you see it, it goes straight through his neck. You know, he leans forward. But the third shot, the one that actually takes his life, was seen as shot from an angle. And the theory was that they knew that he was planning that assassination. They knew that he was going to do that, so they allowed him, kind of set him up to do it. And the second that he failed, they had a guy on the other side. The theory is that this guy was like in a bush area that was very green and very bush at the time, so you wouldn't have been able to see him, and they got him from an angle. And the crazy part is that if you look what happens afterwards, JFK was going to pull our troops out of Vietnam, right? If you look at the Vietnam War is a war that I say that truly proves that the government does not necessarily care about citizens or its people, because we would literally use our troops as toy soldiers. One of our tactical warfares was to have troops run up a hill and try to take the hill from the Viet Cong or the Vietnamese people, which, by the way, the Vietnamese people, the whole reason that we were in Vietnam it was because it was a civil war between North and South Vietnam. South Vietnam, okay, let's see, the Vietnam War is...
I'm so sorry, I don't know much about this.
Can I say something about the JFK thing real quick?
Go
before we
ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, so, sorry, whenever I get something in my head, I need to say
Go
it.
ahead and say it, man.
So, what I think, so I'm not like well educated on this at all. I don't really know much about the assassination, but I do know that Lee Harvey Oswald had a friend, George Mordechlet. I don't know how to say his name, but apparently, from what I've heard, he was like, he was associated with the CIA. I know that, and I don't know where I heard it. I know I heard from somewhere that he was kind of like baiting, or like leading on, like feeding into Lee Harvey Oswald's like political views and his.
Because he was a communist.
Yeah.
He was a part of the underground communist mob.
And he was like feeding into that, and he was basically just like leading him on. He's like, yeah, I believe that. I'm with you. Because like they had a pretty well documented friendship. And then not that long later, I don't know when it was, but he just randomly like he committed suicide.
The
Yeah.
friend?
Yeah. And he was associated with the CIA, so who's to say he couldn't shoot a gun like that?
And who's to say that he just didn't go pop up missing? And the weird part about it is too that right after JFK was assassinated, OBJ was already in the air getting indoctrinated into the presidency chair while JFK was still alive.
Oh, because I heard
Or not while he was still alive, but while he was...
It was like
They took
20
him-
minutes.
They took him to Parkland and he was pronounced dead. And then, of course, he had to get back to DC. So a woman, Judge Sarah T. Hughes, swore him in on the airplane with Jackie Kennedy was standing by him. Yeah, we have to have somebody in charge, and that was his job. So the president came to town, so he was in town too, you know? And so, but the thing that always puzzled me, this is telling my age. I was a little girl at Sunday school on Sunday morning when Jack Ruby shot and killed Lee Harvey Oswald. So I'm like thinking as a little kid, how is it this man gets close enough with a gun to kill the man who just killed the president? That question has never been answered.
And here's a really weird part about it too. Whenever so keep in mind at the time they didn't have television, they didn't have any form of that, right?
Yeah,
So
television existed,
but they-
in black and white, but it did definitely exist.
they didn't have the ability to, they didn't have the technology like iPhones to send out Amber Alert and tell everybody this is what he looks like and send a photo of him out, right? So they simply gave his description. But Lee Harvey Oswald, that was his name, right? The shooter.
Lee Harvey.
He went to his house. He changed clothes, and as he was walking away, apparently a police officer approached him, like fully like new clothes. They didn't have his description. They didn't know what his face looked like. But the police officer approached him and was like, "Hey, like you're under arrest, right? Trying to already arrest him." And Lee Harvey Oswald immediately noticed. I'm pretty sure he shot and killed the officer, and then he went on a run.
Yeah, he
run
did
for
kill
it.
an officer.
Yeah.
It was in what we call now the Bishop Arts District, was where it happened.
And it's like he killed the officer, and then he goes on the run and goes on the limb until they catch him, right? And it's really weird because if you look at the whole background of the Oswald, he was a communist that was a part of the communist mob. It was like underground society in Dallas, like at the time. And it's weird that to see that they kind of use them as an scapegoat to say that it's what it feels like to me. And then if you look at what happens to like as she was saying. How did he get that close?
Yeah,
Like,
how did you get that close with a weapon? This man has killed the president of the United States. You coming into the jail and you get to point in the jail and shoot this man in the stomach and kill him.
It's a really weird. But see, I like to say look at what happens afterwards. So the Vietnam War, right? It's a war that a lot of people say we should have never been in. I truly agree that it's definitely a war that we should have never been in. It's a really sad and tragic war. But the whole concept of it was that the Vietnamese people had won their independence from the French, right? Well, in North Vietnam, I want to say I forgot his name. I want to say Ho Chi Minh was.
Can't remember right now.
Yeah, the general leader of the northern Vietnamese people, which were converting to communism, because if you ever look at the definition of communism, communism is like a perfect utopia, is what they say, right? It's basically no government, everybody's equal, the government just is there to monitor people and make sure that everyone's equal, right? Well, South Vietnam was actually where the Vietnamese people had all their factories and where all the rich people lived. So, which was a small portion of them. Most of them lived in poverty, most of them were, prospering, right? So North Vietnam converts to communism, and South Vietnam is like, we're going to hold a democratic election to decide whether we're going to say, or whether we're going to go democratic or whether we're going to go communistic, right? They said that they were. And then the rich people realize that the war will outnumber them, and they're like, hey, we can't hold this election. Like, if we hold this election, we're going to lose communism. They're going to take away our wealth. They're going to take away all our money. We want to be rich, right? So therefore, they contact the U.S. government, asking them for help and aid. And the U.S. government's excuse was the domino effect theory, which is the theory that if one country falls communism, the rest will, right? It's like a domino. Yeah. And so from there, they asked for our help. And this is why I want to say it was a president before JFK. Forgot his name. Eisenhower. I want to say Eisenhower.
Eisenhower.
Yeah, Eisenhower initially sent our troops to Vietnam, but during JFK's presidency, a week before he was assassinated, he received a transcribed message from the North Vietnamese people saying, like, hey, we're not necessarily fighting this war for communism or communist China. We're doing it for our independence and freedom, as our people are literally being suppressed by the rich there, and they're being forced into labor, right? And so JFK's original plan was to actually pull our troops out of Vietnam.
Well, actually, they didn't go on a massive scale until Lyndon B. Johnson. That's why he did not seek re-election, because it was a very unpopular war. And we lost 55,000 men over there. They weren't sending women at that time. And the sad thing is, when Saigon fell in 1975 and they came out, the guys just came home, and America acted like they had done something wrong. They didn't get a hero welcome.
Very sad.
And we just got the memorial in D.C. within the last 15 years. And now Vietnamese veterans are getting respect. But all they did is what all the veterans did, go to try to fight. They were sent, and they were drafting you. My brother was the only boy.
It's
He
the
didn't
saddest
get to
thing
go,
ever, yeah.
but most of the time, if you were drafted, you had to go. My first name is Billy. I got a lot of that. So Mr. Billy.
No.
I'm like, oh, and I'm a woman.
See, this is where I get to the conspiracy part of it. How did we go from a president that was literally trying to pull our troops out of there because he realized that it was just a war that was based off of suppressing the people in Vietnam, to a president that took command of all our military and took all our troops and just threw them in there? And it's really sad to think about it, because imagine you're fighting someone that you have a language barrier, right? You can't understand what they're saying. You can't understand why you're fighting them. You're just simply told by a general that you're meant to kill them, right? But at the same time, these people...
That's always been the case. World War I, you're going over to thank God we hadn't had a major war over here. You're going over to another country, the Germans in World War II. So it's always been the case, but it's always been people who could translate too.
But the saddest part for me is the fact that these people were fighting for their freedom. That's what it was to them. So the U.S. American troops, it was us fighting for our government, us fighting for the freedom of our government. But to the Vietnamese people, it was literally them living in an oppressive government, oppressive style of government, and them literally trying to fight for their freedom. That's why they received a lot of aid from the North Vietnamese people, because the North Vietnamese people, had gained their freedom, but at the same time, the South Vietnamese people, or as the history would call them, the Viet Cong, were just trying to be free people. They just wanted to, and that's why it's the scariest part about it too, because it's guerrilla warfare, and if you know anything about guerrilla warfare, it's like literally your enemy lives within you. So imagine you make best friends with this guy, Vietnamese guy, he seems really cool, y'all are going out to drinks, y'all are going out to bars. Sorry. One day you're sent on a mission to like go take over some area that's known to be Viet Cong area, and the way that they would fight would be in the jungle. And the Vietnamese people knew how to use the jungle to their advantage. They had tunnel systems throughout. They were honestly geniuses in the art of war. If you look at their whole tactical warfare.
This reminds me of an episode from the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's I had a cousin that fought over there. He could never sleep when he got home after the war because it rained a lot over there. And whenever it rained, he stayed up
PTSD,
all
yeah.
night. It did something to him.
And see, the saddest part is that our troops were forced to fight a war that our country wasn't even proud of, just simply for the sake of the government. And at the end of the day, this is where I like to say the hippie movement failed a lot, because you know how the hippies stood for a lot of love, hope, and peace? Well, they stood for a lot of love, hope, and peace until it came to our troops that were sent to Vietnam against their will and simply doing it for the prosperity.
Well, let's just say the troops are always sent against their will. I mean, you volunteer now to go military, but who wants to go to Iraq? Who wanted to?
They do it because they feel like they're older. They come.
Yeah, you volunteer, and for a lot of African American and Hispanic men too.
It's the best way
It was
out.
a job.
Yeah, it's
It
the
was
best
a
way out.
job. You know, you could steady employment, dangerous, and you never think when you're initially doing it as young people like you that it's gonna lead to what it led to. And we're in a war now.
Ukraine.
Yeah, we funded. We don't send us troops.
Not anymore for this one.
They funded. We have spent billions of dollars.
And it's sad to even look at in modern day, because look at what happened in Maui. Like, there's a whole big conspiracy theory there. You can go into yourself. You can go into the government technology and all that. But at the end of the day, look at what happened to the people of Maui. Their homes were literally pillaged by a massive fire that came out of nowhere, and yet the government is not sending them any aid to help them rebuild.
We're doing what we can. Could we do more? I mean, money has been sent. FEMA is there to provide, and in the beginning, they were putting the people in hotels, and if home, say all of Dallas or all Garland, everybody lost their homes, you would be sad. And so of course, it's paradise, but people don't wanna come in there where everything is burned up. So they begging people to start back coming over there because they made their money on the tourist industry.
Have you heard what they're actually doing with big corporations? First of all, a little bit after Maui was burned, the government did something. I think their rebuttal act, which is basically saying that they're going to rebuild Maui as a new, better, more touristy area. And a lot of the people that are actually getting that homes are burned or damaged, they're getting offered, cents on the dollar for the value of their home and the value of that property, just by bigger corporations and bigger businesses that want to make money off of disparity. It's a really sad situation. This is where I say, my ideology is the only thing you can control is yourself and your environment. So as long as you're a good, positive person, that's all you can do about it, right? And hopefully one day, if everybody...
In conclusion, the education system needs to be reformed.
Let's work on the education system.